Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled "Squatter Parked His Car and Caravan on Farmer's Property Without Permission, Farmer Gets Revenge with a Forklift. Never mess with a farmer." When will people learn that messing with a farmer will always be a bad idea because of the skills we possess and the no-nonsense attitude that we grow up with? Well, clearly, this guy did not get the memo, but did after realizing that messing with me was a horrible idea. He is not the first person to do something like this though, because people come into my land with cars and caravans all the time. For those of you in other parts of the world that don't know what a caravan is, it is kind of like an RV, but not as fancy and gets towed by the car. My guess is that people want to go on a rural vacation and decide that parking on mine and other farmers' property is a good idea. While some drive away after a nice and polite talk, others decide that they want to push our buttons. This guy was one of those. I was walking back to my house when I was done for the day and noticed yet another car and caravan parked on my property. I walked over and saw that nobody was in the car, and whoever it was must have settled down in his caravan already. So I knock on that, and out walks a young man with a scraggy beard that kind of smells like beer. This was the sort of person that I was used to dealing with the most often, single young guys that wanted to go out and find themselves in nature or something like that. Since they grew up in a city or suburb though, actual nature scares them and they end up right here on my property. Me, this is my property, you need to move. Man,
back off, dude, you cannot tell me where to park my stuff.
I can, when this is my land, and you have no rights to be here.
Your land? This is nature, buddy. Nobody can come and claim nature as being their land. It is for everybody.
Me? I'm giving you one last warning. Get off of my property or I'm going to make you get off. Man,
I would like to see you try.
It was clear talking was not getting anywhere with this guy, so I gave up on that and went inside to have my dinner. I wanted to give him a chance to think about it, maybe sober up a little, and realized that he needed to leave. When I looked and saw he was still there though, and the lights in the caravan were off, I decided to take matters into my own hands. This guy clearly wanted to be a squatter, and having dealt with them in the past, I knew that if I didn't get him off of my land soon, he was going to become a major pest. Now, one reason that you shouldn't mess with farmers is that they have a lot of equipment and they know how to use it. In this case, I had a forklift that I was not afraid to use to get the point across to him. I did not want to actually cause damage because I'm not that kind of guy, but I just wanted to get the point across. I used my forklift to pick up his car and place it outside of my land. He could still see it from where he was, but I placed it in a nice pile of mud as a little bit of revenge. I honestly thought when he woke up and saw it, he would get the message and leave. Around lunchtime though, I saw his car was back on my property, right where it was before, only now muddy. It was clear he wanted to play games and I needed to take things up a notch. Still, I did not want to damage anything, so if anyone was hoping my next step was to crush his car or something, I am sorry to disappoint. I want to teach him a lesson, not go to jail for destruction of property. Anyway, another thing about farmers is that we wake up a whole lot earlier than most people from the city do. So, when I woke up the next morning, the man was still dead to the world, asleep in his caravan. I got my forklift and once again put his car outside my property, this time letting the mud splash a little bit more. Then it was time for the caravan. I lifted it up with the forklift and started to move it off of my property. All of the noise and jostling obviously woke him up, because when he looked out of the window and saw that he was off the ground and moving, he started freaking out. I had on protective gear, so I could not really hear what he was saying, just the faint noise of him yelling and what I assume was cursing. He was probably scared out of his mind from this whole thing, and I was having fun making some unnecessary movements to make him sway a little and feel like he could fall at any moment. For all he knew, my plan was to drop him from a big height or put him into a lake or a giant hole. While those options would have been funny, it would have also kept him here longer, which was the opposite of my goal. So instead, I just dumped him off of my property next to his car in the mud. I think the most satisfying thing was him getting out of the caravan and having to end up walking through the thick mud as it got on his pants and I would guess into his shoes even. For me, something like that is the best revenge of all. That also was when he turned to look at me in the forklift and I was waiting for him to say something. He didn't though, so I decided I would start off talking to explain to him why he should never mess with me or another farmer again. Me? I want you to get off of my property. We don't take kindly to squatters around here, and if I ever see you trying to squat here again, I promise that I will dump your car and caravan somewhere a whole lot worse than the mud. By the time I get back from the barn, you better hope that I don't see you here again. I did not even give him a chance to respond, and instead I just drove the forklift back to the barn where I keep the equipment and get it stored away properly. I had a feeling I was not going to need it again for a while if his face was anything to go off of. When I got back, I was right and the young guy was nowhere to be seen. And honestly, the only evidence he was there was the marks in the mud that his car and caravan left. I don't regret what I did, and honestly, if I was to regret anything, it would be not mixing some fresh manure courtesy of my stock into that mud too. Like I said at the beginning, he is not the first guy to do something like this, and he probably won't be the last. Most people realize though that when an angry farmer tells you to get off of his land or else, he means it. We don't threaten lightly, and squatting on our land is not going to end well for anybody. I doubt he messed with any farmers after that and might have even given up his idea to live among nature once he realized that doing so would mean actual nature and not the yard of someone's farm. And ripe stars, if you have watched until here and enjoy the stories about farmers getting revenge, then please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments, and if you want to go the extra mile, I would also very much appreciate a like on the video. Thank you so much in advance, your support is very much appreciated. Woman tries to have me arrested for stopping her from shoplifting. I, 19 female, work at a large craft/retail store and it was almost closing time. I was at a register waiting for stragglers to check out and had my back towards the exit, which is right behind the registers. There was nobody coming up, so I was looking around and I noticed a woman walking quickly behind me towards the exit. By the time I saw her, she was already turning towards the doors and walking into the foyer, which leads to the outside entrance, and I only saw her back and a little of her side. Enough that I noticed her arms were crossed over her chest like she was holding something against it. I didn't think much of it and just yelled, "Have a good night." I guess she was so focused on getting out of the store, she did not notice me standing there, so when I spoke to her, she startled really badly and dropped what she was holding. It was a little vase that cost like $10. So immediately I walked towards her out into the foyer. I don't know why she stayed there, she could have just booked it and I wouldn't have followed her, and I asked her if she was planning to pay for the vase. Kind of in a snarky way, but it was late and I was too tired for this BS. She got huffy and said yes, so I picked up the vase to bring it to my register and check her out. I don't know if that set her off or what, but she suddenly got pissed and snatched the vase away from me. She said,
"I paid for this,"
and then started talking some BS about my dirty paws being all over her property. I already knew what this was gonna turn into, so I went to the registers and picked up a phone and paged for my manager. A couple of my coworkers came to the registers and she started talking to them about how I had tried to steal her property and accused her of shoplifting and yelled at her. They all knew she was lying already because I am a very quiet, shy person and I've never raised my voice, let alone yelled at someone at work. The lady started telling my coworkers to call the cops and also started saying that I had physically cornered her and that she was afraid for her life. Now, this woman was tall and pretty broad, and I am average height and thin, so she is a good 5 to 6 inches taller than me and much bigger besides height. There is no way I could have intimidated her that much. My coworkers and I just let her carry on until my manager got there, and it turned out that he had been suspicious of her earlier and had been checking the cameras. When she tried to start her BS on him about having me arrested and stuff, he already knew she didn't pay for anything and told her to leave and stop harassing his employees. She told him that she would be calling corporate, and he said go ahead, and she stormed out after that. The kicker of this whole thing was that she was wearing what seemed like expensive clothes and nice jewelry, and when we watched her leave it was in a car that looked pretty new and expensive. And she was trying to steal and make a big fuss over a little $10 vase, while she obviously has enough money to afford many of them. I really hate customers like this. The next one is titled, "Entitled Lady Always Gets Rotten Salads." This story belongs to my beautiful wife, who is a deli manager in a major regional grocery store in our area. She runs a tight ship and likes to keep things clean and up to date. So imagine her surprise when a customer, let's call her the entitled lady, reports that 8 out of 8 boxed salads, think macaroni salad, potato salad, that sort of thing, she had just bought were all bad. Entitled lady: "I just bought these 8 salads and every single one of them was spoiled and inedible." Beautiful wife: "I'm sorry to hear that, it surprises me. Do you have them with you? I will be happy to exchange them." Entitled lady: "No, I threw them away, but I have the receipt." Wife looks over the receipt. It is recent, like a day or two old, and all in order. Against her better judgment, she errs on the side of good customer service and replaces the 8 salads just on the basis of the receipt. That was Monday. Come Wednesday, wife is working on the fryer when she hears a familiar voice telling one of her team, "I just bought these 8 salads and every single one of them was spoiled and inedible." Wife steps forward and says, "I've got this," and the entitled lady does not look pleased to see my wife again. "So, still all bad? Did you bring the salads back with you to exchange?" Entitled lady: "No, they are too disgusting. I threw them all away, but I have the receipt." Beautiful wife: "The trouble with that is that I cannot send your receipt back to my vendor for credit on the bad salads. I need the salads to do an exchange." Entitled lady: "You didn't need them the last time." Beautiful wife: "Actually I did, but I took you at face value and ate it that time. That's not something I'm inclined to do again." Entitled lady starting to rise like a cobra ready to strike: "How dare you address me like that? Don't you know how good of a customer I am to this store? I want to talk to the manager." Wife: "Well sweetie, that would be me. No spoiled salad to exchange, no exchange." At that, entitled lady storms off in a huff. Wife checks with the rest of her team. It becomes clear that at least twice in the last week the entitled lady had hit the deli during their busiest times and gotten new salads without having brought back the purportedly bad ones. That's at least 24 free salads over the last couple weeks. Right about then, busy store director comes storming over with the entitled lady in tow. "What is this I hear about you insulting our customers, beautiful wife?" Beautiful wife: "What did she tell you, busy store director? How I refuse to exchange a product that she doesn't have? Or that over the last 2 weeks she is the only person to complain that any of our salads are bad, and oddly enough, every single one she got from here was bad? Or that we already gave her dozens of free salads and that is more than enough generosity for one deli? I'm not saying she's scamming us, sir, but if she doesn't bring the spoiled salad back with her to exchange, there will be no more exchanges." Busy store director: "I see, as you were." And then to the entitled lady: "You're lucky that I don't ban you from the store for this behavior." The entitled lady realizes she won't get any further today and sulks away. Beautiful wife makes sure to train everyone on her team to require the old product be returned for any exchanges. A couple days later, she is coming out of the cooler when she hears a familiar voice. "I bought these 8 salads the other day and every single one of them was bad." It is a different worker who was not there the last time. Different worker: "Did you bring them back with you to exchange?" Entitled lady: "No, they were gross. I threw them all away." Different worker. I cannot exchange them unless you bring them back. Beautiful wife smiles. Entitled lady. Not even just this once. It's an honest mistake. Wife steps out into full view. Not even just this 10th time. Now get out of my deli and don't ever come back. The entitled lady fled and was never seen in those parts again. And I gotta say, Ripe Stars, I am really baffled by how far some people go to just get some free salads. Absolutely mind-blowing. The next one is titled, Yes, I have to ID your daughter even if the wine is for you. She is the one with the money. One thing about the company I work for, everyone gets ID'd for alcohol. Everyone. You could be 90 years old and riding in a scooter, you could be someone I have worked with and sold a box of beer to twice a week for the last 5 years, it doesn't matter. No exceptions. However, it is only the person paying who needs to show ID, and our registers make us scan the ID to verify the age. A while back I was watching my store's self-checkout when two ladies come up to one of the stations, one older and one younger. They start scanning their items and then I hear the ping of the register calling for my attention. Turns out they had a bottle of wine. As I start to sign into employee mode, I tell the ladies that I will need to scan an ID from whoever is paying. The older woman takes hers out and holds it up for me and I ask her, "Are you the one paying?" Side note, during the entire encounter the younger woman never said a single word. Her,
No, she is.
me to the younger woman, "Then I need your ID please, ma'am."
Oldie, she doesn't have one, just use mine.
"I cannot do that, ma'am. I need the ID from whoever is paying."
But the wine is for me, she doesn't drink.
"It does not matter, ma'am. I have to ID whoever is paying."
But she is my daughter, why can't she buy it for me with my ID?
"I'm sorry, ma'am, but it's the law. We have to ID for alcohol and we have to have it from whoever is paying." Her snatches card from daughter's hand.
There, see? Now I'm paying. Take my ID.
Me? Hey ma'am, that's not how it works. I know it's your daughter's card. It's her money. She's the one paying. I need her ID.
Well, she doesn't have one.
Then are you able to purchase it yourself?
No.
Alright, I will take it off your order then. I removed the wine from her purchase, go put it in the go bags bin, and quietly relished in her surprised Pikachu face and the glare I got when I wished them a nice day once they were done. The next one is titled, Lady complains about fat people to a plus-size store employee. I work at a Danish plus-size clothing store named Nana XL. As the name proclaims, this store is only for XL people, sizes XL to 5XL. I myself am a 2XL, so I consider myself fat. Well, this thin old lady comes in and complains that she cannot fit the clothes, and I explain the brand. This is roughly the conversation that followed. Me, "I'm sorry, but you have to look somewhere else. Have a nice day." Lady goes away for a minute and then comes back. "You are probably gonna be mad when I say this," the lady exclaimed. Me thinks, then don't say it. Lady, "But I don't understand how people can let themselves get so big." Me, "Well, there are many reasons why someone is fat, and most people hate it. It's often because of mental health, money issues, or because they sit down too much at their job." Lady, "I've always been small, and even when I was a child people always commented how small I was. And I am very vain, so I like to take care of my look. Don't you want to do that?" Me thinks, did she just call me ugly and brag at the same time? Me, "Fat people can be beautiful too." Lady, "In the war there were no fat people. We didn't need plus-size stores back then. But in Germany fat people cost society so much today." And then names number. Me, internal facepalm. Me, "Is there anything I can help you with?" Lady, No, thank you. I just wanted to talk." Walks away oblivious to my anger. You can have your own opinion, but don't come into a clothing store that specializes in making large women look beautiful and feel confident to fat shame the employee. The next one is titled, An Unauthorized Shopper. I work at a military-run retail store that operates for active duty, retirees and their dependents. My store is not on a base but in an area heavily populated by retired military, and tonight I was the closing shift manager. I get called to the front of the store half an hour before closing. The associate making the announcement just says very abruptly, "Manager to the front," which is always kinda ominous. I come up cautiously, looking for some kind of disaster. The associates look at each other and one finally says to me, "There is a dog loose in the store and he is jumping on people." Sorry, what? And sure enough, a huge black lab comes waddling out of the promotional aisle towards me, closely followed by 2 of the deli associates. He jumps up on me, almost knocking me over, while his tail is wagging non-stop. The deli associates are able to grab him by the collar and check his tag. Our new friend's name was Rocky. Some customers had stopped to see him, one had his phone out and offered to call the number on the tag. The owner answers and panics. His wife was walking their 2 dogs in the neighborhood about a mile away. Rocky got away somehow and made his way over here to the store. We assumed he was a customer's dog and he had gotten out of their car, but nope. He trotted up into the store on his own and started saying hi to everyone there. So I grab a chair and sit down in a corner and pet Rocky until his dad arrives a few minutes later. His dad gets here and Rocky jumps up to greet him. The owner tells us that Rocky loves meeting new people but hasn't been able to do that this year. I tell him that Rocky made a ton of friends today and he is welcome to come by again and say hi. Usually, surprises in retail are unpleasant ones. This was actually a pretty good one and had a happy ending. And ripe stars, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you still cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will soon show up in the left corner of the screen. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could not only subscribe to the channel but also turn on the bell notifications, which you can do by clicking on the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. This will help my channel tremendously and this will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos. Furthermore, if you want to see additional ripe content that I don't post on YouTube, then I would suggest to head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive videos that you will not see anywhere else. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support and I hope to see you again tomorrow.